The first lie you were ever taught was this: be kind. Be honest. Work hard. Trust the process. And one day, the world will reward you. But what if I told you that the world doesn't reward innocence? It studies it, uses it, and feeds on it. Look around. Who rises to power? The most loyal? The most pure? The most hardworking? No. Power rarely belongs to the good. Power belongs to the aware. To the ones who understand what people never say out loud. To the ones who see beneath words. Beneath smiles. Beneath masks. And that is exactly why this video is dangerous. Because once you understand what you're about to hear, you cannot go back. Your old mindset will die. The version of you that seeks approval dies. The version of you that explains yourself to everyone dies. The version of you that trusts too quickly dies. And in its place, something colder is born. Something sharper. Something that sees reality without illusions. Machiavelli once understood a truth that most people fear. Humans are not driven by morality. They are driven by desire, fear, survival, ego, and self-interest. People don't always help because they care. Sometimes they help because they want control. People don't always praise because they admire you. Sometimes they praise because they want something. People don't always smile because they like you. Sometimes smiling is camouflage. That sounds dark. Because it is. But darkness doesn't create monsters. Darkness reveals them. You see, most people live asleep. They move through life believing everyone thinks like them. If they are loyal, they assume others are loyal. If they are honest, they assume others are honest. That is why they get betrayed. Because they judge wolves using the heart of sheep. And sheep always lose. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The world is a battlefield disguised as society. Schools teach obedience. Jobs reward conformity. Social circles reward predictability. Why? Because predictable people are easy to control. If everyone knows how you react, they own you. If everyone knows what angers you, they control your emotions. If everyone knows what flatters you, they can manipulate you. This is why emotional discipline is terrifying. A man who cannot be emotionally read is dangerous. A man who doesn't react instantly is dangerous. A man who sees manipulation and stays silent is dangerous. Why? Because control begins where predictability ends. Most people expose themselves without realizing it. They talk too much. They reveal insecurities. They chase validation. They over-explain. And every word becomes data. People are always collecting data on you. Your fears, your weaknesses, your desires, your loneliness, your ego. Not everyone uses it against you. But the wrong person will. And when they do, you won't even notice. That's how manipulation works. It doesn't arrive looking evil. It arrives looking charming, warm, funny, understanding, safe. Manipulators don't force doors open. They wait for you to open them yourself. That is their genius. They make you feel seen. And once trust is built, control begins. Machiavelli understood something brutal. If someone controls your emotions, they control your decisions. Read that again. Your emotions can become chains. Anger makes you reckless. Fear makes you obedient. Desire makes you blind. Ego makes you predictable. And predictable people lose power. This is why the strongest people are not always the loudest. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the quiet one. The observer, the one studying everyone, the one speaking little but noticing everything. Silence is not weakness. Silence is surveillance. When you talk less, people reveal more. And that makes silence a weapon. Have you noticed something strange? The less you explain yourself, the more people become uncomfortable. Why? Because people love certainty. They want to categorize you. Good guy, nice guy, weak guy, emotional guy, useful guy. Labels make you easier to control. But when they cannot read you, they become cautious. Mystery creates psychological pressure. Humans fear what they cannot predict. That's why powerful people rarely reveal everything. Not because they are antisocial. Because information is leverage. The more people know about you, the more angles they have. Your anger? A trigger. Your loneliness? An entry point. Your dreams? A manipulation path. Your guilt? A weapon. Everything can be used. Everything. This sounds paranoid. But awareness is not paranoia. Paranoia imagines threats everywhere. Awareness simply sees what exists. And here's something most people never realize. You are being tested every day. In conversations. In friendships. In relationships. In business. In family. People test boundaries constantly. Small disrespect. Small lies. Small manipulations. Why small? Because major betrayals start as minor violations. Nobody destroys your life in one day. They first test how much you tolerate. Can they interrupt you? Can they disrespect your time? Can they guilt trip you? Can they emotionally pressure you? Every tolerated disrespect teaches people how to treat you. And if you tolerate everything, you teach people you are safe to exploit. This is where your old mindset must die. The mindset that says, stay nice no matter what. Avoid conflict at all costs. Keep proving your good intentions. No. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Machiavelli never said become cruel for no reason. He said understand power, understand human nature, understand strategy, because naive goodness is not virtue. Naive goodness is vulnerability. Real strength is different. Real strength means you can be kind without being weak, calm without being passive, silent without being afraid, respectful without surrendering power. And most importantly, you can walk away. Walking away is one of the darkest forms of power. Because desperate people beg, powerful people detach. The moment you stop needing approval, you become harder to manipulate. The moment you stop fearing rejection, you become freer. The moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone, your energy returns. And energy is power. Most people are exhausted not because life is hard. They are exhausted because they are constantly performing. Trying to be liked, trying to be understood, trying to be accepted. That is slavery. The world respects those who respect themselves first. Not arrogance, not ego, self-command. There is a difference. A dangerous person is not dangerous because he harms everyone. He is dangerous because he cannot be easily controlled. And the system hates uncontrollable people. Because independent thinkers ask questions. They resist pressure. They don't blindly follow crowds. They don't panic when everyone panics. They think, they observe, they calculate, and that makes them powerful. But this transformation has a price. Your old identity will resist. It will scream, this is too cold. This is too dark. This is not me. Of course it will. Because illusions feel comfortable. Reality does not. And what comes next is where most people break. Because once you begin seeing masks, you start noticing things you were never supposed to notice. You start noticing how people change their tone depending on status. Watch carefully. A person speaks one way to someone weaker, and completely differently to someone powerful. Same face, different behavior. That reveals character. Respect given only to power is not respect. It is fear wearing manners. And fear-driven people are among the most dangerous. Why? Because they don't follow principles. They follow advantage. Today they support you. Tomorrow they betray you. Not because you changed. Because the power dynamic changed. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Never judge loyalty during comfort. Judge loyalty when incentives change. When someone can gain more by leaving you, that is when truth appears. This is why intelligent people stop listening only to words. Words are cheap. Anyone can say, I'm with you. I care about you. You can trust me. Words cost nothing. Behavior costs something. Sacrifice costs something. Consistency costs something. Truth hides in cost. Start watching patterns. Patterns reveal more than promises ever will. Who only calls when they need something? Who disappears when you need support? Who celebrates your failure in silence? Who becomes uncomfortable when you grow? Success reveals hidden enemies. Many people love the version of you that struggles. Because struggling you feel safe, predictable, non-threatening, easy to surpass. But the moment you become disciplined, focused, powerful, something changes. Some smiles become forced. Some encouragement becomes weaker. Some friendships become strange. Why? Because growth shifts hierarchy. And people are obsessed with hierarchy, whether they admit it or not. Humans constantly measure status. Who has influence? Who gets attention? Who commands respect? Who leads? Who follows? This game never stops. It exists in schools, offices, relationships, families, friend groups, everywhere. The problem is most people pretend this game doesn't exist. Machiavelli never pretended. He studied it, and because he studied it, he saw something terrifying. Most people do not want truth. They want comfort. Truth demands transformation. Comfort demands denial. Which is easier? To accept someone manipulated you? Or to keep believing they cared? To accept you were weak? Or to blame fate? To admit your habits are destroying you? Or to make excuses? Most choose comfort. Because truth kills identity. And identity fights for survival. That is why mindset change feels painful. You are not just changing thoughts. You are killing mental addictions. Addiction to validation. Addiction to attention. Addiction to emotional reactions. Addiction to approval. The old version of you feeds on these things. That version wants to be liked. It fears rejection. It fears being misunderstood. It fears standing alone. And because of that fear, it obeys. Understand this carefully. The easiest way to control someone is not through force. It is through emotional dependency. Make them need praise. Make them need attention. Make them fear abandonment. Then control becomes effortless. That is why detachment is terrifying. Detached people are difficult to manipulate. Not emotionless. Detached. There is a difference. An emotionless person feels nothing. A detached person feels everything, but stays in command. That is power. Can you feel anger without losing control? Can you feel desire without becoming a slave? Can you feel pain without begging for sympathy? Can you feel loneliness without lowering standards? Most cannot. They react instantly. And reaction creates weakness. Every impulsive reaction reveals your internal programming. Insult someone, see their ego. Ignore someone, see their insecurity. Delay someone's reward, see their patience. Pressure reveals truth. This applies to you too. Pressure reveals who you are. When life becomes unfair, who are you? When nobody supports you, who are you? When you are misunderstood, who are you? When you are tempted, who are you? Character is not built in comfort. It is exposed in pressure. That is why suffering transforms some people into monsters, and others into kings. Same pain, different response. One breaks, one sharpens. This is where mental alchemy begins. Turn pain into awareness. Turn betrayal into wisdom. Turn rejection into independence. Turn loneliness into discipline. Most people waste suffering. They suffer and learn nothing. Then repeat the same mistakes. Again, and again, and again. Machiavelli would call that fatal weakness. Because pain without learning is useless. If betrayal taught you nothing, betrayal wins twice. If failure taught you nothing, failure repeats. If humiliation taught you nothing, humiliation returns. The powerful extract lessons from every wound. They ask, where was my blind spot? Where was my emotional weakness? What did I ignore? What pattern did I miss? That mindset changes everything. Victims ask, why me? Powerful minds ask, what is this teaching me? One mindset creates helplessness. The other creates evolution. And here is something most people will never understand. Mercy without discernment is dangerous. Helping the wrong person can destroy you. Trusting the wrong person can ruin years of progress. Loving the wrong person can drain your soul. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. Read that again. Access is earned. Your time is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Your energy is valuable. Stop giving them away cheaply. Scarcity creates value. Even in psychology, when you are always available, people value you less. When your attention is cheap, respect drops. When your boundaries disappear, exploitation begins. This is not cruelty. This is structure. Without structure, people consume you. And some people consume endlessly. They take your attention, your peace, your focus, your energy, and still ask for more. Because takers rarely stop voluntarily. You must stop them, silently, firmly, without guilt. That last part matters. Without guilt. Manipulators love guilt. Guilt is one of their favorite tools. They weaponize your empathy. They say things like, after everything I did for you, I guess I don't matter to you. You changed. Notice the pattern? Emotional pressure. They want control, not understanding. And if guilt works on you, you become programmable. That is why emotional discipline matters so much. If someone can trigger guilt on command, they own part of your mind. And ownership of your mind is the ultimate form of control. But it gets darker, much darker, because the most dangerous manipulation is the one that feels like love. Love can become the perfect disguise. Not real love, possessive attachment, control disguised as care, obsession disguised as loyalty, dependency disguised as intimacy. This is where many intelligent people fall, because they expect manipulation to look aggressive. But often, it looks affectionate. Soft voice, warm touch, sweet words, and hidden beneath all of it, control. Watch carefully when someone says, I'm doing this for your good. Sometimes it is genuine. Sometimes it means, I want you to behave the way I prefer. That is why awareness matters. Not every protector protects. Some people protect only what they own. There is a brutal psychological truth here. People often confuse attachment with love. Attachment says, stay so I feel secure. Love says, grow, even if growth changes things. Attachment fears freedom. Love respects it. That distinction can save your life. Machiavelli observed something timeless. The strongest chains are invisible. No ropes, no cages, no locks, just emotional dependence. Once someone becomes your emotional center, they can influence your decisions without force. Your mood depends on them. Your peace depends on them. Your self-worth depends on them. And that is dangerous, because dependence creates vulnerability. The more something owns your emotional stability, the more power it has over you. This applies to people, money, status, validation, pleasure, anything. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. What can be taken from you that would psychologically destroy you? That thing owns power over you. Think deeply. Most people never ask that question. So they live blind. They build identities around unstable things. Beauty fades. Status changes. Money fluctuates. Relationships transform. Public opinion shifts overnight. If your identity is built on unstable foundations, collapse becomes inevitable. This is why inner authority matters. Not confidence built on applause. Authority built on self-command. When nobody claps, who are you? When nobody notices, who are you? When nobody validates you, who are you? That is your real level. Not what you display, what remains in silence. And silence reveals everything. That is another reason people fear being alone. Silence removes distractions. No notifications, no entertainment, no noise, just you. And suddenly, the mind speaks. Regrets emerge. Insecurities rise. Hidden fears surface. That is why many people stay addicted to stimulation. Constant scrolling, constant talking, constant distraction. Noise protects them from themselves. But growth requires confrontation. You must meet the version of yourself you keep escaping. The insecure self, the jealous self, the weak self, the needy self. Not to hate it, to understand it, because what you refuse to face controls you from the shadows. Carl Jung described this as the shadow. Machiavelli understood it through power. Different language, same truth. Humans hide darkness, but hidden darkness does not disappear. It waits. Suppressed anger becomes resentment. Suppressed desire becomes obsession. Suppressed insecurity becomes arrogance. Suppressed weakness becomes overcompensation. Everything hidden seeks expression. That is why self-awareness is power. If you know your darkness, others cannot weaponize it as easily. If you know your weaknesses, you can guard them. If you know your ego traps, you become harder to manipulate. The most dangerous man is not the one without darkness. It is the man who understands his darkness and commands it. A naive man says, I could never become cruel. That sounds moral, but often it means something else. It means, I do not know what I'm capable of. That is not virtue. That is ignorance. True discipline is different. True discipline says, I know exactly what I am capable of. I know I can be ruthless. I know I can be destructive. But I choose control. That is strength. A harmless man is not necessarily good. Sometimes he is simply weak. A good man is capable of power, but governs it. Machiavelli respected capability, because morality without power is fragile. If you cannot defend yourself, your goodness depends on others' mercy. And mercy is unreliable. This doesn't mean become cruel. It means become capable, mentally, emotionally, strategically. Become someone who sees games. Because games are everywhere. Status games, attention games, social games, power games, seduction games. Most people participate unconsciously. They think life is random. It isn't. Patterns drive behavior. Incentives drive patterns. Emotion drives incentives. Understand those three, and human behavior becomes far less mysterious. Want to know what someone values? Watch what changes their behavior, not what they claim. Claims are theater. Behavior is confession. A person may say loyalty matters, but offer status, and watch. A person may say honesty matters. Apply pressure, and watch. A person may say they love you. Remove convenience, and watch. Pressure strips performance. And performance is everywhere. Social media made this worse. Now people don't just wear masks in public. They build digital masks. Perfect life, perfect body, perfect mindset, perfect success, curated illusion. People compare their reality to someone else's performance and suffer. That is psychological poison. The crowd worships appearances. Powerful minds study reality. Never confuse image with truth. The loudest person may be the weakest. The calmest person may be the most dangerous. The most charming person may be the most manipulative. The nicest smile may hide the sharpest knife. This is why discernment matters. Discernment means seeing without fantasy, without projection, without wishful thinking. See people as they are, not as you hope they are. Hope without observation creates blindness. And blindness attracts predators. Predators can sense emotional hunger. They sense desperation, neediness, loneliness, validation addiction. Why? Because hungry minds are easy to bait. Offer attention to the lonely. Offer praise to the insecure. Offer pleasure to the impulsive. Offer certainty to the fearful. And control becomes easy. This is why mastery begins within. Before you learn to read others, you must read yourself. Where are you weak? Where are you reactive? Where are you desperate? Where are you blind? Answer honestly, brutally honestly, because the enemy outside becomes dangerous only when he finds the enemy inside. And every person has an enemy inside. Ego, fear, lust, greed, vanity, attachment, different faces, same prison. Break the internal prison, and external control weakens. But most never break it. Because freedom is heavy. Why? Because freedom removes excuses. No one to blame. No one to depend on. No illusion to hide behind. Only responsibility. And responsibility terrifies weak minds. Because responsibility means this: your life is your pattern. Your results reveal your habits. Your future reflects your discipline. That truth burns. Because it kills victim mentality. And once victim mentality dies, something dangerous awakens. Something society cannot easily control. A mind that no longer seeks permission.
A mind that no longer asks for permission becomes a threat to every system built on obedience. Think about that. Why are most people taught what to think, but rarely taught how to think? Because independent thought is disruptive. A person who thinks clearly starts questioning everything. Why am I chasing this goal? Who benefits from my insecurity? Why do I fear being disliked? Why does rejection hurt so much? Why do certain words trigger me? The moment questioning begins, programming starts breaking. And most programming was installed early. Childhood, school, family, society, invisible scripts. Be agreeable. Don't offend. Fit in. Seek approval. Avoid conflict. These scripts create socially acceptable weakness. A person raised to fear conflict often becomes easy to manipulate. Why? Because manipulators understand something simple: most people would rather suffer silently than confront directly. They fear tension, so they tolerate disrespect. They tolerate lies. They tolerate emotional games, until resentment poisons them from within. That is not peace. That is suppressed war. Real peace is different. Real peace is built on strength. Strength creates boundaries. Boundaries create respect. Respect creates peace. Without boundaries, peace is fake. It is just avoidance. And avoidance always collects interest. Every ignored red flag grows. Every unspoken truth accumulates pressure. Every tolerated violation teaches others what they can get away with. Then one day people ask, how did things get this bad? It didn't happen suddenly. It happened gradually. One compromise at a time. One silence at a time. One excuse at a time. That is how power slips away. Not through one catastrophic event. Through repeated surrender. This is why Machiavelli valued foresight. The wise do not wait for disaster. They study patterns early. A small lie may predict a larger betrayal. A minor disrespect may predict deeper contempt. A subtle manipulation may predict future control. Weak minds dismiss patterns. Strong minds investigate them. And there is another harsh truth. People often reveal themselves early. But you ignore it. Not because signs were absent. Because desire blinded observation. You wanted the friendship. You wanted the relationship. You wanted the opportunity. So the mind filtered reality. This is what desire does. Desire edits perception. You stop seeing what is. You start seeing what you want. That is dangerous. Because illusion feels beautiful, right before collapse. This is why emotional neutrality is powerful. Neutrality sharpens perception. When you are not desperate, you observe better. When you are not attached, you judge better. When you are not emotionally flooded, you think better. And thinking clearly in emotional situations. That is rare power. Most people become slaves to emotional momentum. One insult ruins their day. One rejection destroys confidence. One failure triggers collapse. Why? Because they have not built internal stability. Their state depends on external events. That is psychological fragility. And fragility attracts control. A fragile mind is easy to influence. Praise it, and it obeys. Criticize it, and it breaks. Ignore it, and it chases. Reward it, and it bonds. This is how conditioning works. Reward and punishment. Approval and withdrawal. Attention and silence. You see this everywhere. In relationships. In workplaces. In social groups. Even online. The algorithm understands psychology better than most humans. It knows what keeps you engaged. Outrage. Desire. Fear. Validation. Novelty. Why? Because emotion captures attention. Attention creates addiction. Addiction creates dependency. Dependency creates control. See the chain? This is bigger than relationships. Entire systems run on your reactions. If they can control what captures your attention, they can influence what shapes your mind. And what shapes your mind? Shapes your reality. Protect your attention. That is one of the darkest lessons of power. Attention is life force. Where attention goes, energy follows. Where energy flows, identity forms. If your attention is constantly stolen, your power leaks. Ask yourself, who benefits from your distraction? Who profits when you stay impulsive? Who gains when you remain emotionally reactive? Often, not you. A distracted man cannot build. A reactive man cannot lead. An addicted man cannot command himself. And self-command is the foundation of all power. Without self-command, every external victory is unstable. You may gain money and lose peace. Gain status and lose identity. Gain admiration and become dependent on applause. Many powerful-looking people are internally weak. Never be impressed too easily. Status can be rented. Luxury can be borrowed. Influence can be faked. Confidence can be performed. Reality hides beneath performance. Train your eye to see beneath appearances. Most never do. They worship symbols, titles, followers, wealth, beauty. Symbols trigger assumptions. Machiavelli warned against this. Appearances influence crowds. Reality influences outcomes. The crowd often follows image. The wise study substance. This applies to people as well. Some people dominate through noise. They speak loudly, display aggressively, demand attention. That can look powerful. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is compensation. Real power often moves differently. Calm, measured, controlled. No rush. No need to prove. A lion does not announce every step. Presence speaks. And presence comes from inner certainty. Not ego. Certainty. Ego screams, see me. Certainty whispers, I know who I am. That difference changes everything. The ego-driven person is highly controllable. Why? Because ego is easy to bait. Challenge their status, and they react. Question their intelligence, and they react. Ignore them, and they react. Reaction creates openings. This is why elite manipulators provoke intentionally. They want emotional responses. An angry person becomes predictable. Predictability creates weakness. Never forget this. Whoever controls the frame, controls the interaction. Frame means psychological reality. Who defines meaning? Who decides what matters? Who remains emotionally grounded? That person holds power. Imagine two people arguing. One is emotional, defensive, reactive. The other is calm, observant, composed. Who has more control? Usually the calm one. Because emotional chaos clouds judgment. Composure creates clarity. And clarity wins. This is why silence unsettles aggressive people. They expect reaction. They feed on reaction. Deny them that, and the dynamic shifts. Suddenly they feel exposed. Because now their behavior becomes visible. Silence forces revelation. People reveal themselves when denied expected responses. The manipulator becomes frustrated. The narcissist becomes irritated. The insecure become restless. Why? Because their tools stop working. No emotional hook. No predictable reaction. No easy control. That is power. Not loud dominance. Controlled presence. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Because after learning to see manipulation in others, you begin noticing something far more disturbing. You've been manipulating yourself.
The most dangerous liar you will ever face is not outside you. It is the voice inside your own head. The voice that justifies weakness. The voice that protects comfort. The voice that turns excuses into philosophy. Listen carefully to how the mind manipulates. It says, I'll start tomorrow. I'm just tired. This one time won't matter. I work better under pressure. This is who I am. Sounds harmless, but hidden inside these sentences is self-betrayal. Your mind can become your greatest manipulator because it knows exactly what you want to hear. It knows your fears. It knows your cravings. It knows how to protect your current identity. And identity hates change. Why? Because change feels like death. Your old habits built your old self. Destroy the habits, and the self begins collapsing. That collapse feels painful, not because growth is wrong, because the old version is fighting for survival. This is why transformation feels violent. You are not simply adding new beliefs. You are killing old illusions. The illusion that comfort will fulfill you. The illusion that motivation alone will save you. The illusion that more time will magically change everything. Time changes nothing by itself. Patterns change outcomes. Read that again. Patterns create destiny. Not wishes. Not fantasies. Not intentions. Patterns. What you repeatedly tolerate becomes your life. What you repeatedly think becomes your identity. What you repeatedly do becomes your future. This is where true power begins. Not in controlling others. In controlling yourself. Most people dream of power over the world. Few master power over impulse. But impulse is where slavery loves. Impulse says, react now. Consume now. Escape now. Seek pleasure now. Avoid discomfort now. And if impulse rules you, you are not free. You are programmable. That word matters. Programmable. Push a button. You react. Show temptation. You fold. Offer validation. You obey. Threaten rejection. You submit. That is not power. That is dependency. Machiavelli understood that rulers fall long before kingdoms collapse. They fall internally first. The moment discipline weakens, decay begins. The same applies to you. Lose discipline, and your inner kingdom collapses. Lust becomes king. Fear becomes king. Ego becomes king. Comfort becomes king. And once the wrong king rules your mind, destruction becomes inevitable. So ask yourself, who rules your kingdom? Discipline or desire? Awareness or impulse? Purpose or distraction? Your answer explains your life. This is why darkness can be useful. Not evil darkness. Psychological darkness. The willingness to face uncomfortable truths. To see manipulation. To study power. To understand human nature without fantasy. Most avoid darkness because it challenges innocence. But innocence without awareness becomes weakness. Awareness without discipline becomes cynicism. Discipline with awareness becomes power. That is the balance. Do not become paranoid. Do not hate humanity. Do not assume everyone is evil. That is not the lesson. The lesson is simpler. See clearly. Trust slowly. Observe deeply. React strategically. Protect your mind. Guard your energy. Master your impulses. And never surrender your inner authority. Because the world will constantly try to define you. Too quiet. Too intense. Too cold. Too ambitious. Too different. Let them speak. Most people judge what they do not understand. Crowds fear those who think independently. Why? Because independence cannot be easily controlled. And control is what many systems seek. But remember this, power is not domination. Power is sovereignty. The ability to remain yourself under pressure. The ability to think clearly amid chaos. The ability to say no without guilt. The ability to walk away without fear. The ability to stand alone without collapsing. That is rare. Very rare. Most people would rather betray themselves than risk disapproval. They abandon standards to fit in. They silence truth to avoid tension. They shrink to protect others' comfort. And then wonder why they feel empty. Because every betrayal leaves a scar. Not always visible, but felt. Each time you ignore your truth, you weaken self-respect. And self-respect is everything. Without self-respect, confidence becomes performance. Boundaries become negotiable. Identity becomes fragile. With self-respect, everything changes. Your walk changes. Your voice changes. Your standards change. Your energy changes. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop over-explaining. You stop performing. You become selective. Intentional. Precise. Dangerous. Not dangerous because you harm people. Dangerous because manipulation stops working on you. Dangerous because guilt stops controlling you. Dangerous because fear stops leading you. Dangerous because you finally see. And once you see, you cannot unsee. That is why this video kills your old mindset. Because your old mindset needed illusions. It needed excuses. It needed emotional dependency. It needed approval. But now, you know better. You know smiles can hide agendas. You know praise can hide manipulation. You know comfort can hide decay. You know even your own mind can deceive you. That awareness changes everything. From this moment, watch more, speak less, observe patterns, study incentives, control reactions, question narratives, especially your own, because the final battlefield has never been the world. It has always been your mind. Win there, and the world changes. Lose there, and nothing external can save you. So kill the weak mindset. Kill the needy mindset. Kill the reactive mindset. Kill the approval-seeking mindset. And build something stronger, a mind that cannot be bought. A mind that cannot be pressured. A mind that cannot be emotionally hijacked. A mind that sees through illusion. A mind that chooses power over comfort. Because in the end, the greatest Machiavellian lesson is not about controlling others. It is about becoming impossible to control. And when that happens, you stop living like prey. You begin living like power. If this video reached you, don't just admire it, apply it. Look at your life tonight. Where are you weak? Where are you reactive? Where are you lying to yourself? Be ruthless with your self-observation. Because the version of you that built your current life cannot build your next one. That version must die, and from its ashes, a sharper mind must rise.